Hi friends, my name is Nandita. I am from Andhra Pradesh.
Good morning dear students. Today we are going to discuss about reproduction in organisms from chapter 7 CBSE syllabus class 10. Children, organisms reproduce to continue the chain of life, to pass on its genes which are required over millennia. Reproduction is essentially a process by which individuals reproduce new individuals of the same kind, and this process is very important for the existence of life on the earth. Children, different organisms reproduce in different ways. Let us have a detailed look at how different organisms reproduce. Children, before we discuss the mechanisms by which organisms reproduce, let us ask a more basic question. Why do organisms reproduce? Yes, after all, reproduction is not necessary to maintain the life of an individual organism, unlike the essential life process such as nutrition, respiration, or excretion. On the other hand, if an individual organism is going to create more individuals, a lot of its energy will be spent in the process. So, why should an individual organism waste energy on a process it does not need to stay alive? Children, yes, it would be interesting to discuss the possible answers in the class. If there were to be only one no reproducing member of a particular kind, it is doubtful that we would have noticed its existence. It is the large number of organisms belongs to a single species that brings them to our notice. How do we know that two different individual organisms belongs to same species? Usually we say this because they look similar to each other. Those reproducing organisms create new individuals that look very much like them. So let's discuss in detail about how do organisms reproduce. Children, let us discuss the father of reproduction, or at least a pivotal figure in the understanding of reproduction, is generally considered to be Reinier B. Graaf. He was a 17th century Dutch scientist who made significant contributions to our understanding of a female reproductive system, particularly the ovaries and ovules. His name is still associated with various structures within the female reproductive system, like the Graafian follicle, in recognition of his work. While de Graaf's work is foundational, it's important to note the understanding of reproduction has evolved over the time with contribution from the other scientists like Gregor Mendel. In his genetics, Mendel's work on pea plants laid the groundwork of foundation heredity and the transmission of genetic traits which are crucial for understanding reproduction. Children, let us discuss about what is the contribution of Mendel. The George Mendel was the father of genetics. Mendel's experiment with plant established the basic principles of heredity which are fundamental to understanding reproduction. Another scientist who is called Karl Ernst von Baer, often considered the father of embryology. Baer's work on animal development, including his discoveries of blastula on notochord, laid the foundation of modern embryology. Children, let us discuss who introduced the sexual and asexual reproduction in organisms. The concepts of sexual and asexual reproduction were not introduced by a single person. The understanding of these reproduction methods evolved over a time with contributions from various scientists and naturalists. Earlier observations and theories, if you look into it, the philosophers like Aristotle in his writing discussed reproduction, including observations of sexual reproduction in animals. Like in Buffon 18th century, the time reproduction was the first introduced by Buffon in 1749 according to a paper on Valley Online Library. Let us see the development of the field. In mid-18th century, Charles Bonnet, a naturalist, made significant contributions to embryology, including the discovery of parthenogenesis in aphids, demonstrating asexual reproduction. In 19th century, Reinier de Graaf. He is from 17th century. He is considered the founder of modern reproductive biology. His work focused on the reproductive organs. When Mendel, his study on pea plants and cross-pollinated them, laying the groundwork for modern genetics, including the understanding of sexual reproduction. In modern understanding, 20th century, the emerging of modern evolutionary synthesis led to a more comprehensive understanding of his mechanism and benefits of sexual reproduction, with numerous biologists contributing to the field. And ongoing research continues on the evolution of sexual reproduction, the advantages of both sexual and asexual reproduction, and the diversity of reproductive strategies in the natural world. Children, organisms create exact copies of themselves. Let us see what is the main reason behind of it. Children, deoxyribonucleic acid. DNA serves as the fundamental genetic material in most living organisms, carrying the instructions necessary for growth, development, functioning, and reproduction. During reproduction, DNA undergoes processes like replication and recombination to ensure the accurate transmission of genetic information to offspring. Children, let us discuss about DNA and reproduction. Cell division. In asexual reproduction, organisms reproduce offspring genetically identical to themselves through mitosis, where a single cell divides to form two new individuals, each containing the same DNA as the original. In sexual reproduction, meiosis occurs, resulting in gametes, sperm and egg cells that carry half of the number of chromosomes of the parent cell. Upon fertilization, the combination of these gametes restores the full chromosome number in the offspring. Children, let us see what is genetic variation. Sexual reproduction introduces genetic diversity through a process like crossing over during meiosis, where segments of DNA are exchanged between homologous chromosomes. This recombination leads to new combinations of genes, contributing to the genetic uniqueness of each individual. Children, let us see what is similar body designs. The concept of similar body designs or morphological similarities among different species can be attributed to evolutionary process and genetic relationships. Children, now let us see what is homologous structure. These are body parts in different species that have a common evolutionary origin. Despite serving different functions, homologous structures exhibit similar anatomy due to shared ancestry. For example, the forelimbs of mammals, birds, and reptiles have similar bone structures reflecting a common origin. Now let us discuss what is convergent evolution. These convergent evolutions occur when unrelated species independently evolve similar traits as a result of having to adapt to similar environments or ecological niches. For instance, the wings of bats and birds serve the same function and have similar structures, but they have evolved independently. These similarities arise because of the way genetic information is conserved and modified over generations, leading to the development of analogous or homologous structures that may look alike or serve similar functions even they evolved independently. Children, now let us discuss chromosomes and DNA. Chromosomes are structures within cells that organize and package long strands of DNA, which means deoxyribonucleic acid, ensuring the efficient storage and transmission of genetic information. Let us discuss the structure and function of chromosomes. DNA packaging. In eukaryotic cells, DNA wraps around histone protein, forming nucleochromosomes that resembles beads on a string. This arrangement further coils and folds to create the compact structure known as chromosome. Chromosome composition. Each chromosome consists of a single continued DNA molecule that carries numerous genes. Chromosomes number. The number of chromosomes varies among species. For example, human beings have 46 chromosomes, which means 23 pairs, while sugarcane cultivars can help us to 120, with some hybrids containing 145 chromosomes. Children, let us see what are extrachromosomal DNA. Extrachromosomal DNA studies have identified ecDNA, small DNA fragments outside that main chromosomes in certain aggressive cancers. These fragments can derive tumor growth and resistance to treatments, highlighting potential targets for new therapies. Let us see what is Y chromosome degeneration. Research indicates the human Y chromosome responsible for male sex determination is gradually losing genes. While this suggests a long-term evolutionary trend mechanism may exist to counteract its potential. Children, let us discuss about DNA copying. DNA replication is the biological process by which a cell duplicates its DNA, ensuring that each daughter cell receives an exact copy of the genetic material. This process is essential for cell division and occurs in several stages. Let's see the first stage, which is called initiation. Replication begins at specific sequence called origin of replication. Initiator or proteins recognize these regions, causing the local unwinding of DNA double helix. This unwinding is facilitated by helicase enzyme, which further separate the two DNA strands, creating replication forks. Let us see the another copying of DNA, which is called premier binding. Since DNA polymers can only add nucleotides to an existing strand, RNA primers are synthesized by primase enzymes. This short RNA sequence provide starting points for DNA polymerizers to begin DNA strand elongation. Let us discuss elongation. DNA polymerizers add nucleotides to the 3' of RNA primer, synthesizing new DNA strands in the 5 to 3 directions. Only on the leading strand, DNA is synthesized continuously towards the replication fork. On the lagging strand, DNA is synthesized discontinuously away from the replication fork in short segments called Okazaki fragments. Each fragment begins with a new RNA primer replacement and joining. When RNA primers are removed and replaced with DNA nucleotides, DNA ligase then seals the gaps between Okazaki fragments, creating a continuous DNA strand. This semi-conservative replication mechanism ensures that each DNA molecule consists of one original parental strand and one newly synthesized strand. The highly fidelity of this process is crucial for maintaining the integrity of genetic information during cell division. DNA replication is followed by cell division, resulting in two cells with either one set of DNA and cellular apparatus. Children, let us see what is variations and reliability. DNA copying is a biochemical process that can introduce variations. While cells may not be identical to the original, they may remain similar. Non-variable DNA copies can lead to cell death, ensuring that only with functional DNA survive. Children, let us see why organisms do not create exact copies of themselves. Even though the DNA replication process is highly accurate, it is not perfect. Small errors called mutations can occur during the copying process, which introduce variations in the offspring. These errors are often corrected by repairing mechanism within the cell, but some mutations persist, resulting in suitable difference between the parent and offspring. Children, let us see what is asexual reproduction and variation. In asexual reproduction, only one parent cell is involved and the offspring are genetically considered clones of the parent because they inherit an identical set of genes. However, due to occasional mutations during DNA replications, these offsprings are not exact copies of the parent. Asexual reproduction means one parent cell. The reproduction which takes place is called asexual reproduction. Example, in binary fusion, a form of asexual reproduction seen in bacteria and amoeba. The parent cell divides into two daughter cells that are genetically identical. However, during DNA replication, small mutations can occur, leads to slight difference between the daughter cells. Children, let us see the sexual reproduction and variation. In sexual reproduction, variation is much more pronounced. The offspring inherit genetic material from both parents, making them genetically unique. During sexual reproduction, meiosis plays a significant role in introducing variations. Meiosis is the process by which gametes, means sperm and eggs, are formed, and it involves crossing over an independent assortment of chromosomes which shuffle the genetic material between the two parents. Children, why variations occurs in sexual reproduction? Let us see. First one is because of crossing over. Crossing over during meiosis, homologous chromosomes exchange genetic material leading to new combinations of genes. Second one is independent assortment. The random arrangements of chromosomes during meiosis ensure that each gamete contains a unique set of genetic information. And the next one is random fertilization. Since any sperm can fertilize any egg, the genetic combination in the zygote is unique. Example, in humans, the mixing of genetic material from the mother and father during sexual reproduction ensures that siblings are not identical to each other, nor are they exact copies of their parents. Children, now let us see what is the role of mutations and variations in reproduction. Mutations are random changes in the genetic sequence. While most mutations are neutral or harmful, some can be beneficial and provide an evolutionary advantage. Even in organisms that reproduce asexually, such as bacteria, mutations can introduce variations. They may help the organism survive in changing environments. Children, let us see the types of mutations. First one is point mutation. A single nucleotide in the DNA sequence is changed. Next, insertion and deletions. Exact nucleotides are inserted or deleted from the DNA sequence, which can have significant effect on protein production. Children, now let us discuss the chromosomal mutations. Large sections of chromosomes are altered, leading to more noticeable genetic changes. Example, antibiotic resistance in bacteria. In bacterial population, mutations can occur during DNA replication. These mutations may lead to the development of antibiotic resistance. Bacteria with such mutations survive in the presence of antibiotics and pass this resistance on to future generations through asexual reproduction. Children, let us discuss the variation and evolution. Variation is crucial for the survival and evolution of a species. Even though the offspring of a sexual reproduction are very similar to their parent, small variations arise over a time, which contribute to genetic diversity in population. In sexual reproduction, variation is much more pronounced due to the mixing of genetic material from two parent cells. Children, let us discuss why the variation is important. Yes, it is important because the adaptation to environmental changes, which means when environmental conditions change, not all individuals in a population may be equally suited to survive. Variations allow some individuals to possess traits that make them better adapted to survive, increasing the chances of survival for the species as whole. Next one is natural selections. Organisms with favorable variations have a better chance to surviving and reproducing. Over time, these favorable traits become more common in the population, driving natural selections and evolution. Children, let us discuss the importance of variation. First one is maintaining body design. Constant DNA copying during reproduction ensures that organisms retain their specific body designs and effectively copy their ecological itches. Second one is stability and adaptation. Reproduction plays a crucial role in maintaining population stability. Variations among individuals become important when environmental changes occur. Third one is survival through variation. If an environment changes drastically, organisms with variations may have a better chance of survival. For example, if bacteria living in temperate waters faces rising temperatures due to global warming, some heat resistant variants may survive and thrive, while other may not. Without such variations, the entire species could face existence. So that is the reason variation is important, because variation allows species to adapt to new conditions and continue to exist over time, highlighting the role of a genetic diversity in survival and adaptation. Children, let us see the examples of variation and evolution. The example of this is peppered mouth. Before the Industrial Revolution in England, light colored peppered mouth were more common because they are better camouflaged against light tree bark. However, as population darkened, the tree's bark colored mouth had a survival advantages and become more common. This changes in the mouth coloration is an example of natural selection and the role of variation and evolution. Children, let us discuss the real life applications of understanding DNA and variation. Let us discuss first what is medicine and genetic disorders. Children, understanding DNA replication and mutations help scientists identify the causes of genetic disorders. By studying variations in the human genome, researchers can develop treatments for diseases like cyst fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, and cancer. In agriculture, genetic variation is used in plant breeding to create crops that are more resistant to disease, pests, and environmental stress. By introducing beneficial mutations, agricultural scientists can improve crop yields and food security. Let us see the applications of DNA variations in evolutionary biology. Studying genetic variation helps scientists understand how species have evolved over a time. This knowledge is crucial for understanding the origin of species, human evolution, and biodiversity.